Hi guys, welcome back to Just Talking, where I talk how you sometimes listen. So today we're doing a comparison video of how family friendly Alton Towers is against Blackpool Pleasure Beach, which are the two most competing theme parks in the north of the UK. And of course, if this video did help you with the booking process or you just enjoyed it, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And before we do begin with the video, I'd just like to make sure that we do actually remove any bias for the predecessors of the two areas, such as Beaver Creek at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and Storybook Land at Alton Towers, because of course I do hold both of these areas very close, and they are really great areas for families, but of course we now have something new, so we need to forget about them for this video. So, what are the two family areas all about in both of the theme parks? So of course Nickelodeon Land is in Blackpool Pleasure Beach after the 2011 agreement for Nickelodeon Land to be situated on the old lot where Beaver Creek was. And of course the agreement is set to end this year, so it's kind of unpredictable what the future of that area is going to be, whether or not they renew it. But the land features characters from certain franchises such as Rugrats, SpongeBob and the Backyardigans, and for Cbeebies Land, this is of course situated in Alton Towers. I believe it opened sometime in 2013 or 2014, but I've only ever actually visited it once. And of course this features popular characters and rides based on franchises such as Postman Pat and also In the Night Garden. And as you can see by the comparison of the two franchises that are typically in these areas, you can definitely see that Nickelodeon Land is aimed at kids aged 6 or 7 up, and Nickelodeon Land is kind of 6 and 7 down. So of course it's really based on the age of your kids that will really matter. So the ride offering at Cbeebies Land, of course, it does have the Get Set Go Treetop Adventure, the Peter Rabbit Hippity Hop, which is a sort of like drop tower that bounces up and down. You have the Go Jetters Roomster Zoom, which I'm not exactly too sure how this ride works. I believe it wasn't there when the park area of the park originally opened, but I believe it's similar to one of the rides at Nickelodeon Land. You do also have the Octonauts coaster, which is a small children's coaster, which I don't really think exceeds more than like 20-30 miles per hour. You do also have the In the Night Garden River Ride, which depicts popular scenes with characters from the In the Night Garden TV show, which didn't actually run for very long in all honesty, so I'm very surprised that it still has enough relevance to be in there. You do also have the Postman Pat Parcel Post, where you go through different locations and deliver parcels by pressing buttons. And you do also have the Bugbee Go Around, which I'm not too sure how that works. I believe this is a sort of recent addition, but there is no details on how the ride works, but it does say it's a ride. And for all of these, it recommends that you are 0.9 meters or above. Some of them are 1.1 meters, some of them 1 meters, but all of them, if you're below 1.1 meters and above 0.9, sometimes they'll let people go on before that, and you will need to ride with an adult over 16. So for the ride offering at Nickelodeon Land, you have a lot, this is definitely a lot more than Cbeebies Land, but a lot of the rides are for older kids and might appear slightly outdated because they don't have the similar design to Cbeebies Land. So you do of course have the Backyardigans Pirate Treasure, which is a spinning pirate ride that goes around in a circular track. You have the Fairy World Taxi Spin, which you basically press a button and it goes up and down. You have the SpongeBob Splash Bash, where you basically control cannons and shoot it over riders. You have the Rugrats Lost River Ride, which is a small log flume that takes you around scenes based on the Rugrats movie. You have Nickelodeon Streak, which is a family wooden coaster. You have Krusty Krab Order Up, which is a small children's drop tower. Dora's World Voyage, which takes you around scenes across the world depicting many different cultures and wildlife, as well as some important landmarks such as the Taj Mahal. You do then also have Diego's Treetop Adventure, where you get to control how much your hot air balloon spins around, and it takes you up to the top and then back down, so you do get some pretty nice views. You do then also have Blue Flyer, which is a junior sort of answering to Nickelodeon Streak, and that is a nice small one with only like 2 or 3 little bunny hops throughout it, and it doesn't go too fast, but it's a nice thrilling entry for younger children to roller coasters. You do also have the Bikini Bottom bus tour, which basically just takes you around in a circle. It's nothing like the sort of Miami rides that you'll find at fun fairs where they go really fast. It just takes you around nice and slowly to give you some views. You do then also have the Big Circus Bounce, which is from the Wonder Pets franchise, which is very unknown, and this is one of the least popular rides, and that's like an uncontrollable version of the Fairy World taxi spin, so you don't get to control when it goes up and down. And then finally you do have the Avatar Airbender ride, which is a sort of disc track sort of ride where the train on top will spin around as it goes up and down. And of course, that is probably the second most thrilling ride out of this. I'd say Nickelodeon Streak is probably at the top there. But of course, this is centered for sort of 7-year-old kids and up. And, obviously it does have a lot of franchises that will be held dearly by all sorts of generations, like SpongeBob. People from the 2000s will remember the Backyardigans, and Rugrats is sort of 90s television as well. So it's got a lot of different eras of television. There is no plans to modernise anything in bringing some of the new franchises such as the Loud House. So I'm not too sure if too many kids will recognise some of the franchises, but the rides are really good. So for the restaurants and shops, of course, in the Alton Tower Cbeebies land, you do have the little lunchbox area where you can get things that you would typically find in a lunchbox. Things like sandwiches and fruit and small snacks for the people and children who have, a less broad palate, because, of course, kids can be picky, and they've definitely factored this in, which I think is a really great consideration, that it does offer a lot of food for picky eaters, and it's familiar food and it's nothing too extravagant. And for the shop offering, the doors have the Little Explorers toy box as well, and this features some toys from popular franchises, as I've mentioned before, and also the popular logo character as well. Of course, these are the only two restaurants/shops available, so these are the only two retail outlets. I'm not too sure how big the shop is entirely. I've actually never been in the shop, but of course it does offer a lot of pretty high quality merchandise, although sometimes Alton Towers the merchandise can get on a little bit of a pricier side, but mainly they do like to keep it an average sort of price. So in the Blackpool Pleasure Beach Nickelodeon land, you have the Snack Shack, which hasn't necessarily been open every time I've been to Pleasure Beach this year, but of course that does offer things typically like burgers and hot dogs and street sort of food and fast food type of thing there, and that is located by SpongeBob's Splash Bash and also the Nickelodeon shop. You do also have Big Pizza, where you can basically make your own customised pizza, and of course it does have all the sort of restaurant in there, and you can sit down either inside or out, make your own pizza for kids. There is also some different menu types, such as they do offer some alternatives for kids, such as goujons and pasta, as of the last time I actually dined in there and looked at some of the kids' offerings, and of course it does have a wide variety of Italian offerings, which are really nice and really high quality, but the prices are pretty average. I would say sometimes it's £10 for a full meal, so I wouldn't really argue with the prices in there. So then you do also have the Nickelodeon shop. This has basically everything you need. It's chock full of Nickelodeon merchandise. You have things like SpongeBob, Rugrats, Paw Patrol. You have basically everything, and that includes a range of play sets, teddies, clothes, accessories, stationery. It has something for all ages, and I believe at one point when I went in there, of course, this also hasn't been open very much lately. It tends to open later on in the day from what I found, but they did actually have some scarves in there as well. So of course there is a wide variety of merchandise in that shop, and I'm guessing it's probably a lot broader in its sort of target demographic for its age group than the Cbeebies land shop. So I'd definitely say that if you're looking for a full family dynamic, then this is probably the place to go for your merchandise, is the Nickelodeon shop. So, of course, the rest of the parks, of course, with Alton Towers, the rest of the park is really quite intense rides and things that maybe aren't so age appropriate for kids. like, even possibly Jill might scare other kids, but of course you do have things like the Smiler and Oblivion as some of their sort of title rides, so there isn't necessarily very much for kids, and I can completely understand that because, of course, there's a much wider demographic that'll be looking for thrilling coasters, and I can completely understand that they've made that choice. But of course there is some other alternatives. You do have, of course, Gangster Granny the Ride, which recently opened in the new World of David Walliams section, and that has a few other flat rides in there as well. There is also in the area next to it, which actually used to cover the full area of David Walliams, is the Cloud Cuckoo sort of driving cars where you can do like a driving test type of thing and get a license. So that's still open over there, so that's another alternative for kids who like to, drive and things. And then you do, of course, have the Runaway Mine Train, which is a powered coaster, which is great for kids. It's nice and small, and it does multiple laps. I think it does like 3 normally, so that's always a great alternative as an introduction to roller coasters. So at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, you of course do have Wallace and Gromit's Thrill-O-Matic, which is a hybrid between a sort of powered dark ride and a slight element of roller coaster-ness, because it does have some bits where it does go down a descent, but it doesn't go fast, and of course that does depict scenes from the popular Wallace and Gromit films such as A Matter of Life and Death, A Close Shave, and many, many more. You do also have the River Caves, which takes you along scenes across the world along with its nature. This is like evolved Dora, but of course Dora came after River Caves. I need to clarify that. And it does have a small log flume section at the end. You don't get wet. I think recently it has made you get just a little bit wet on the top of your head, but it's never anything bad because the water's actually decently maintained, and it's obviously clean, but it does have a nice temperature to it, and of course that's a really nice ride. And there is some dinosaurs in there. I know kids like dinosaurs, so there's that, so that's a very good point to make. There is also the Pleasure Beach Express. This takes you around the edges of the park, so you can go look around at the scenery, look at the hotel and wave to people in there, and there's some really great scenery going around the park on that as well. You do also have the Eddie Stobart ride, where you go around an alpine-themed area looking at different animals and scenery on your own little truck, and you can play around with the wheel, so that's always a nice thing. There is also Alpine Rally, which and also the Grand Prix ride, where you get to sit in your own car, and when you turn the wheel, it does actually turn the car a little bit. So that's always a really fun thing as well, and it does have pedals, so if you definitely, as it is, need to, bring an adult on it with you, but yeah, you will definitely need an adult to press the pedal and keep pressing it as well. So yeah, that's really it for this video. I'm going to give some final opinions now on which is more family friendly. In my experience, from going to Alton Towers when I was younger, I would definitely say that Blackpool Pleasure Beach is definitely the more family-friendly one, because, really, Cbeebies Land is just a focused area for families, and to say it only has, 8 rides in it, not even that, probably 7, it definitely needs more if it's going to be a standout, day-out type of place to go, and sometimes the tickets can be quite expensive, and the accommodation is as well, and I definitely say that the whole of Blackpool Pleasure Beach is appropriate for all ages. The dark rides and even Avalanche, which is a bobsled coaster, I definitely say that kids can go on that as well. So I would definitely say that Blackpool Pleasure Beach, especially for value, is better for families. And also there is a lot more family attractions down the promenade if you do want to go out of the park at some point. But yeah, I'd definitely say that when I was younger, I enjoyed the Pleasure Beach more than I did Alton Towers. So I'd definitely keep that in mind and factor that into your booking, about how, there is a wider variety and there is room to explore more in the Pleasure Beach as well. You can go from loving Nickelodeon Streak and then moving on to something like Big Dipper or Grand National. All of those are wooden coasters, so there's areas to explore. But in Alton Towers, if you like the Octonauts coaster, there isn't really anything similar to that. Maybe 13, but I don't think any kids want to go on a freefall coaster. So, there's definitely an imbalance of, progression from one coaster to the next, and one ride to the other in Alton Towers. But yeah, I really do hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. And yeah, this is Just Talking. Bye bye.